So one thing I've learned as a spiritual leader, first with Reverend Fred Muir, our minister emeritus, is that poems really need to be heard twice. So I'm going to read that one again. It's by one of my favorite poets, a West Coast poet named David White. Sometimes if you move carefully through the forest, breathing like the ones in the old stories, who could cross a shimmering bed of leaves without a sound, you come to a place whose only task is to trouble you with tiny but frightening requests, conceived out of nowhere, but in this place beginning to lead everywhere. Requests to stop what you are doing right now and to stop what you are becoming while you do it. Questions that could make or unmake a life. Questions that have patiently waited for you. Questions that have no right to go away. I love questions, and we love questions. If you needed a clue about this, I think there are at least 3 questions on your connection card every week. We had a whole service in August that was about bringing forward your questions and having Reverend John and I answer them. One of my favorite services of the year. And in fact, questioning is an important spiritual practice. It's about wondering, but it's also about discovering deeper truths. Now, not every religious community is into this. In fact, about every year, sometimes more, when we are having a new to UU class, people come in and share why they've decided to explore our community. And someone will share that the reason why they feel at home is because we welcome their questions. And they'll tell a story about a previous faith community, sometimes when they were just kids, and sometimes even as adults, where they would ask a question and someone would say, oh, we don't ask those questions here. Or you just need to listen to this lesson and understand what I have to teach you, which I always found just a little sad. So when we bring children into our community, we love their questions, respect their questions, and respect where they sense that question is leading them to. Questioning is a sign that we believe that revelation is not sealed. Questioning is an indicator that we are seeking these fuller truths, and hopefully in love. In fact, I had a wonderful congregant in Indianapolis who asked me a question of our covenant. And she said, our covenant, that one there said, we seek truth in love. And she said, does we seek truth in love? Does that mean we seek truth that's in the spirit? We seek truth in the spirit of love, like we're holding love in our heart as we're seeking? Or are we seeking truth that is in the reality of love? I love when you could answer yes and yes. Love is so obviously the answer to almost every question. Now, I think I need to say that not all questions are questions, and some non-questions are questions. Say that again. Not all questions are questions, and there are non-questions that are questions. For instance, did you really just hit my car? Not a question. In fact, I have a hypothesis. Perhaps you could work with me to see if it's true. I hypothesize that every question with a really is not a question. Really? And then there are wonderful non-questions that are the same invitation that questions should hold. For example, the Mary Oliver poem, Wild Geese, when she writes, tell me about despair, yours, and I will tell you mine. Would I pour out the answer of my life to that one? But we're here today to consider, what are the questions that have no right to go away? What are the questions in our lives that have no right to go away? What questions have been patiently waiting for us? You're going to get an invitation to think and perhaps write down such a question on your connection card. But to spur the imagination, I want to share with you that David White, the author of the poem, came up with 10 questions that in his life have no right to go away. First one, do I know how to have a real conversation? What can I be wholehearted about? What can I be wholehearted about? Am I harvesting from this season of life? This is my favorite one, being a parent. Where is the temple of my adult aloneness? Where is the temple of my adult aloneness? Can I be quiet even inside? Am I too inflexible with my relationship with time? This one makes me laugh. How can I know what I'm actually saying? How can I know what I'm actually saying? How can I drink from the deep well of things as they are? Can I live a courageous life? Can I be the blessed saint my future happiness will always remember? Can I be the blessed saint my future happiness will always remember? In our lives, some of these questions for you might also have no right to go away. And there's probably some others that are seeking to be answered just as much. There's a Unitarian Universalist who I admire. I even feel affection towards, even though I've never met her one-on-one. Her name's Krista Tippett. She's a journalist and an interviewer, and her biggest work is the podcast and program On Being, in which she interviews a lot of different people, particularly spiritual leaders or ethical leaders. And in all this time, she's discovered from this work something about questions I want to share with you. She writes, if I've learned nothing else, I've learned this. A question is a powerful thing, a mighty use of words. Questions elicit their likeness. Answers mirror the questions that they rise or fall to meet. So while a simple question can be precisely what's needed to drive to the heart of a matter, it's hard to meet a simplistic question with anything but a simplistic answer. It's hard to transcend a combative question, but it's hard to resist a generous question. We all have it in us to formulate questions that invite honesty, dignity, revelation. There's something redemptive and life-giving about asking a better question. This evening, I am heading with my husband out to Spain to go along the Camino, one of the oldest Christian pilgrimages to one of their 3 holiest sites. And along the way, I'm interested in getting to know the other members of our congregation even better, but I know I'll also meet other pilgrims. And in my spirit, I've begun to pack away my sense of generous questions, to ask about their lives, to get to know them as fellow journeyers. And I often think about generous questions like that when I meet a stranger, or when something is out of right relationship with someone else. I try to turn to wonder and generosity towards them and all that they're bringing to the conversation. But I think it's just as valuable to ask, my dear ones, do we ask ourselves generous questions? Can we ask ourselves a better question? How is full of dignity and respect, is somehow transformative and life-giving. May we, my dear ones, not pretend that we need to be saints, but instead seek to be soulful. I want us to lean into this year and this time of pilgrimage, since pilgrimage is often begun by seeking to address some question that has patiently and resiliently stayed with us. Questioning itself can lead to a deep spiritual life. What question is your spirit offering to you to guide you through this church here? What questions can we undertake together to guide us like a little stream mightily forward through life? May we ask and maybe in time even answer such questions together. May it be so, and amen.